I don't know. Окей. Так, доброе утро всем. Давайте начинать. Мы чуть-чуть тут задержались с Кэтрин. Значит, я обещала вам пару дней назад, что я приведу Кэтрин на такого рода интервью. Простите. И мы поговорим с ней про английский язык и про то, что думают носители про наш английский язык. Ой, Катюш, привет. Значит, сейчас я буду немножко так двигать, чтобы вы видели нас, когда Кэтрин будет отвечать. Я буду так постараюсь чуть подвинуть. Но пока скажите, что все хорошо слышно, все видно. Все дождались, а тоже приходят нервные сообщения, приходят в директ, что не будет эфира. Нет, все, я обещала, значит, будет. Никаких не было отмен и ничего. Так что мы здесь. У меня есть несколько вопросов уже, которые вы писали до этого. Пару дней назад был у нас эфир. И, соответственно, можете задавать любые вопросы тоже, Кэтрин. Про английский, конечно, или про греческий, потому что я хочу ее сегодня еще спросить, как она учила греческий. Это ее второй язык, собственно, который она использует тоже здесь, на Кипре. Поэтому я тоже думаю, нам будет интересно всем послушать, как изучающим тоже язык иностранный, да, послушать, как она это делала. И у нее есть довольно забавная история на этот счет. И вообще она, в принципе, очень веселый человек такой и приветливый. Но я жду от вас какие-то плюсики, что все слышно. Пока все только машут и ставят сердечки, где плюсики. Все слышно, все видно, да? Я отключила комментарии, что ли? Вроде бы нет. Давайте плюсики. Ага, hello, Catherine. Ага, so they can see us. And I hope they can hear us. Okay, so this is a plus I was waiting for. So, let's start. The first question for you.
Okay.
What do you think about us Russian people speaking English?
Well, we've been doing the speaking marathon now for quite a few months now, since October.
Since October, right.
Since October, and I'm amazed at the level of English that everybody is using. You all do so well. The pronunciation is very good, the grammar is very good, the answers are excellent. I'm truly amazed at the level. It's a really high standard of English, so you should all be really proud of yourselves.
Oh, thank you.
It's
nice
great.
to hear. Yeah. And what about the pronunciation? Of course, we have some problems that are only Russian problems, like what sounds, for example.
The pronunciation in general has been very, very good. The important, I suppose, thing to remember with learning English as a second language, or any language as a second language, is as long as you can get the message across that you want to portray.
Yeah.
And I've had absolutely no problem at all, I don't think, with anybody in understanding what the message is. And the pronunciation, everybody has a pronunciation, everybody has an accent, everybody has a regional accent. You can't go to any part of the UK and not meet people with their own regional accents
well, they
and
say
pronunciations.
It's like about 50 different accents in
Yeah.
Yes,
There's a massive amount of
every 20
differences.
kilometers there's a new one.
There's a different one. And we all speak very, very differently, because there are obviously some parts of the country they speak extremely fast, so everything kind of blurs into one. And in other parts of the country, it's very, very slow and drawn out, but still with a very heavy accent. So it doesn't mean because they're speaking slower, you will understand them any better. There is still a very heavy accent there. So, I mean, literally, the whole of the UK is a jumbled up mess of accents and different pronunciations, and
nobody minds, right?
Nobody. It's actually what differentiates everybody from one another.
Yes.
If we all sounded the same, it would be boring.
Yeah.
But we know that if we go I'm from Devon, so everybody speaks Devonshire. We have certain little different things that happen that we say in our dialect. And you go to Cornwall, again, it's very heavy accent, very heavy regional accent, and they speak a lot slower, but that doesn't mean that you'll understand them any better.
I see.
And then the further north you go, you've got Manchester, you've got Liverpool, everybody has a different way.
There is no such an accent that you can like make jokes about or mock a little bit.
Well, you wouldn't do for risk.
Yeah, I see.
You avoid insulting people.
But there is this received pronunciation, right? That the Queen speaks.
Yes.
So it is supposed to be the most sophisticated.
The most sophisticated, which is yes. I mean the Queen's way of talking is supposed to be.
And this new generation, the Prince and, well, is he the Prince or is it the Duke, William and Harry there?
Well, it's Prince William.
Yeah, Prince.
And it's Prince Harry, but they've also got other titles as well.
Mm-hmm. But do they speak this received pronunciation? I don't remember now.
They do. They speak very much the Queen's English, but that's the way they were brought up. And a lot of people that have been educated in that type of system or brought up in that type of social background.
In these very expensive schools, for example, Benedict Cumberbatch or Eddie Redmayne, they were brought up in these schools and they speak very sophisticated.
Very sophisticated, very precise, very exact.
I don't know why, but we Russian people like this.
Really?
When we hear it, we think it's nice. We would like to speak like this. But I think it's not very possible because you have to be brought up in this.
I think a lot of it is to do with the education, the area you live in and your social circle, so the society that you're with, because if you are all with friends who speak in a particular way, very posh, very high society, then you end up, having to actually, if you don't, you have to elevate your language to meet them. But for the majority of us, we're kind of regular.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. But there are some Russian mistakes, right? Because people are asking now. I think, as for me as a teacher, some problems with verbs, like you are. Sometimes we forget about the verb because we don't have it in Russian.
Right, yeah.
For example, if you want to say you are a teacher, we just say you a teacher.
Yes,
so sometimes we forget about it, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, again, in speech, it's not the most important thing. It would be very important, though, if you were writing. So formally or in any kind of writing, you would need to actually work on that. But, for example, if you were to look at you are, or now there's a leaning towards your, so you're combining the two together. Now, when I was at school, we were not allowed to do that at all.
So you had to write both.
We had to write both. There was no contracting any verbs or anything else. We had to write everything formally. And when you write in a formal way, you don't use your... You don't, contract the verbs or anything. You have to write them formally, properly.
Different criteria.
But now, I mean, the schools and everything, even in the UK, are leaning much more towards that system of I'll instead of I will, your insteed of you are.
It's more convenient for speaking.
It's more convenient.
Everyday life.
Yeah, it's more convenient. There's a lot of... kind of not arguing about it because I suppose it's not the biggest issue, but I think for some people they prefer formal English, especially if you're in business and working and everything else.
Well,
I think it's more professional.
Yeah, more professional.
I don't particularly like the I'll, your. I prefer it separated.
So you say it like this, right?
Yeah.
I will come.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Because it saves you time.
Yeah.
But what can you do with all this time?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's because of my education, because we weren't allowed to, and if we did, we got into trouble. So
what kind of trouble, by the way?
What, in school?
Yeah, at school.
Well, I was at a very strict school. I had very strict kind of education.
Was it you who went to a Catholic school?
Yes,
Anna?
I was at a Catholic school.
And Anna too, from
Yes,
Salta.
yeah. So all of my teachers were actually nuns from all over Europe, and the majority of them were from Ireland. So they had very thick Irish accents, which was hilarious because I was brought up in a family in Devon who spoke broad Devonshire, and went to school where my teachers were Irish nuns. And the teachers, we were not allowed to speak with an accent. We had to speak formal. We were raised in Queen's English. We had to speak in a certain way, even though they couldn't.
Yeah,
it was enforced on us to do that.
As I do, do as I say.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, absolutely. So it was absolutely fascinating. And now, I suppose I look back on it now and I think, my God, how did it even happen with this? I mean, we had a lot of European teachers in my school. We've all came with their package of accents and pronunciations and everything else, and I do not understand how we all ended up communicating with. And actually, myself and a lot of my friends left with no accent whatsoever. So, for example, most people, English people, cannot tell from which part of the country I'm from. They haven't got a clue. And when I say I'm from Devon, they're like, no, you're not.
No, it doesn't
because they
sound
expect
like
me, they're like, you know, to roll all the language. And they don't expect it at all.
So what kind of trouble did you get into?
Well, I suppose it wasn't too bad. They were very good on discipline, but we would have if we were naughty or if we made mistakes, we would have to write in our break times. We weren't allowed to go on break. We would have to stay by the board and write
like
on
Bart
the blackboard.
Simpson, right?
Yes,
You remember this?
yes, that was us.
I see.
I think they got the idea from us.
Well, it's not
we used
the
to
worst,
stand
right?
there and just write and write and write, or we would have to stay after school and just write lines. So if, for example, we had made a mistake in our writing and we'd use the verbs your or I'll or etc., we would have to sit and write lines. I will.
Oh my God.
Over and over and over again. And it could be 100, 200 times. And we were only little, so it was quite a big deal.
Yeah. A little bit depressing, it might be.
Yeah, I got into trouble for... I wasn't disruptive in class, but I had friends and we used to talk.
With some rebel spirit.
Yeah, we were rebels. And one of my teachers, one of the nuns actually, who I loved her so much, and I was devastated because I disappointed her. Apparently, I had been disrupting the class because I'd been talking too much to my friends. So she said to me, right, because you've been doing this all week and you've disrupted my classes all week, I'm going to disrupt your weekend. And she made me go to school on Saturday and Sunday in full school uniform, just me. And that's what I had to do.
So did you learn your lesson?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I kept my mouth shut. Even when she asked me a question, I was like, I'm not answering. It's a trap. It's a trap. I'm going to get into trouble.
But when you started learning Greek, right? It was a very different experience. Tell us how you learned Greek.
It's hilarious.
But first, we have to tell that you are married to a Cypriot man.
Yes.
So he speaks Greek.
Yeah, my husband is Greek Cypriot, and we've been married, we've been together for 22 years. So this year we've been married 19 years. And when I first met him, I could not say one single word in Greek. I couldn't say hello, goodbye, nothing, absolutely nothing. Fortunately, he spoke very good English. He'd been to private institutes from when he was little and he'd learnt very good English. So he was fine. So we could communicate, absolutely no problem. But he is actually from a very small, quite remote village in Cyprus. And when I first went to the village, nobody spoke any English, and those that did speak English wouldn't say anything to me in English because they were embarrassed that they would make a mistake or something like that. All I wanted was somebody to say something to me in English, and nobody could. And so I was it was quite stressful,
I can imagine.
very frustrating, because I had to rely on my husband to translate everything. The first long period of time I came to Cyprus, I was here for 3 months. Once my first summer holidays when I was at university in the UK, and I'd come to Cyprus for 3 months to be with Vernie, and he was working all day, and I could not find a job anywhere. And so I was stuck in this tiny remote village with his family and the local people. And there was a lot of interest in me because I was obviously the only foreigner at that time in the village. So they were like, right, everybody. And they just
come take a picture.
They get pictures and coffee. I've never drunk so much coffee in my entire life. And everybody would ring my mother-in-law and say, you must bring Catherine for coffee. So I would end up going maybe 6 or 7 houses per day, eating cheesecake. They made cheesecake everywhere I went. They made cheesecakes. I don't know why. And they were, oh God, hundreds of food, platters of food, and coffee. So,
but
I couldn't
talk,
communicate.
Right? And
eating. And I was just eating
silence.
because Cypriot people can be quite offended if you say no, you don't want something. They can they can go for you. So I was like, okay. So they were just putting all this food in front, eat, and I'd be like, oh God.
Ευχαριστώ.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I couldn't even say ευχαριστώ. I couldn't say nothing.
Wow.
And so I was, okay, it was that point when I made a decision, I cannot carry on like this. I have to be able to start somewhere. And very, very gradually, with a lot of people around me, I had an awful lot of patience. So I would ask them, what is this? And they would say, the Greek word for cup or mug or fork or knife and plate. And it normally started with kitchen utensils because that's what I was surrounded by all the time. Chairs, tables, this type of thing. And then it progressed very, very slowly to like other things like how are you, where are you going, these types of things.
And then you watched some TV.
Yes, and I would watch in the afternoons. There was hardly any English programs on. It was pretty useless. But there were some Brazilian programs which were just awful.
So you learned Brazilian.
I was like, oh God. But they were all speaking in Spanish. So I couldn't even understand that. But they had the Greek subtitles at the bottom of the screen. And I'd already started to recognise some letters from things like road signs and restaurant menus.
Packages and menus.
Restaurant menus and things like that. Like small things, but you actually begin to recognise some letters.
Well, when you are surrounded by
and
language,
you can't get away from it. So that's it. So I would start to identify certain words that were coming up on the screen, and I would start to understand, the gist of what was going on and who was having an affair with who and what catastrophe was happening.
I can imagine the vocabulary you had from it.
God, it was all the worst vocabulary you can possibly imagine. But it took a year, and because I was actually at university in the UK, I would make an effort when I was back in the UK to try and practice my Greek. So I would use things like flashcards. I found flashcards really, really helpful. Flashcards and books with very simple words. Children's books.
Yes, I always say.
The first level.
Why not take
absolutely. Because if you don't know anything, how does a child learn to speak their own language?
Some rhymes.
Rhymes and very, very basic, very extremely basic children's books and things like that. And I would buy them, and they always came with packs of stickers in the children's books.
Nice.
I love
You
that.
had some fun.
I was very happy. I'd give myself a gold star.
Yeah, why not?
Always.
You deserved it.
Yeah.
And so when you came back to Cyprus, your husband was impressed.
Yeah, I knew a lot more. It's still to no degree could I communicate fluently, but I would say that summer by summer I improved. And after I graduated university, so I'd been in Cyprus for 3 years on and off because of uni, and then when I moved over, that between period of finishing university and finding a job meant again I was surrounded in this environment, and actually I understood a lot more Greek than I realised in that time. And also I understood that I could understand everything anybody was saying, everything.
But could you speak?
But I could speak only little bits. But there was a period, I think about 12 months later, when, and I'll never forget it, my mother-in-law and her neighbour were gossiping, as they do.
As usual.
They were gossiping, and I actually I almost like butt into their conversation, and I gave my opinion, but I gave it in Greek, and they both sat there and they looked at me, in shock. And I was like, what? And they go, do you know what you just said? And I said, did I say it in Greek or in English? I've confused myself completely. And apparently it was almost like all the exposure to the language and the practicing simple things, the practicing listening to vocabulary, listening to pronunciation, it all kind of came together in one moment. And it was from that moment that I thought, okay, yeah, I can do this. I never ever felt embarrassed by speaking Greek, even when I couldn't say anything. I didn't care. And I think that's the right attitude to go with.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about some advice you could give to English learners. So I think it's the first one, not to be embarrassed.
Not to be embarrassed. I mean, at the end of the day, if you put yourself, I mean, in general, English people are dreadful with languages. We in school, we're given the option, we learn French, we learn some German, we can learn Spanish. But in generally, because we're not very good with languages. I'm not quite sure what it is exactly.
Why bother? You can go wherever you want and speak English.
I mean, my opinion at school is, why am I learning French? God, you know, when they all speak English. But it's quite a rude attitude to have, just to go to another country and expect everybody to be able to communicate with you. But we are not good with languages in the UK. Obviously, it depends on the schools you go to and the amount of exposure you have to certain languages. But for me personally, and I know I was at a very good school, I can't remember a thing. I remember my first trip to France, and I was with a big group of friends from different schools, different backgrounds. And we went for a couple of days to France, and I was the only person. We were very hungry, so we went to a restaurant. And French people don't want to speak English to us ever. They see English people and like, oh, here we go, great. And because I was the only person that could say like bonjour and everything, everybody was really hungry. But because we couldn't order any food because nobody could speak any French, the only thing I could remember from my French lessons was pomme de frites. So we ate chips for 3 days because we couldn't order anything else.
That's why you need languages, you know.
That's why you
have
need
good food.
Basic language. Yeah, we literally lived on chips for 3 days because nobody else. Everyone was like, no, far too embarrassed, I'm not doing it.
Okay, so don't be embarrassed. What else?
Yeah, don't be embarrassed. Don't worry too much about your pronunciation. Honestly, because like I said, we have so many regional accents in the UK. Everybody has their own take on the method they speak English. So don't worry about it. Relax into it. And I myself, I have been speaking Greek now for 19 years, and I can honestly say I make mistakes on a daily basis. It gives people quite a lot to laugh about, but I really don't care.
Still you can communicate.
Yeah, you can communicate, and it's not about making the language perfect, because it isn't perfect. It's not about that. It's not going with the attitude that you have to say everything in a certain way and it has to be perfect in the grammar and so on and so forth. The whole idea is that you communicate what you want to say.
You want to convey the idea.
Yeah, you convey the idea, send
something.
a message, you know. So just honestly, don't worry about them, don't worry about mistakes, and go with a good sense of humour.
Yeah, I think it's a great attitude.
Be able to laugh at yourself when you make mistakes.
That's always needed, I think. In real life, maybe not even in English. In real life, it's good quality to be able to laugh at yourself, about yourself. Yeah, okay, and yes, let me check if we have any interesting questions here. Так, тут просят некоторые передвинуть экран горизонтально, но я не уверена, что это хорошая идея, потому что мы тогда не увидим вопросы хорошо. Так, вроде бы я начала сначала. Если у вас есть еще какие-то вопросы, пожалуйста, пишите. Мы сейчас постараемся все обсудить, но я думаю, что Кэтрин уже сказала очень хорошие вещи про изучение языков. Да, она хорошо разговаривает, я вижу комментарии Так, that's amazing, we are so happy. Да, вот горизонтально, Настя, извини, не хочу, потому что не смогу видеть вопросы. Про ошибки мы поговорили, что, да, иногда забываем глаголы. And what do you think about Russian language, by the way, when you listen to me speaking?
I don't understand a thing you're saying. I've got da.
Yeah.
That's it.
Да.
That's it. Nothing else.
Well, how does it sound? You know, I watched an interview with Mila Kunis. You know,
yes,
she said it's like a Klinion, this language, made-up language.
Yes, yeah, it does. Like but the most, I think if you listen to any language which you're completely unfamiliar with, so for example, Russian, Chinese, Japanese.
What are they saying?
What are they going on
What's
about?
Going on?
And I think it's relayed back to us as well. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just the given, isn't it? It sounds something completely...
That's true, but it sounds nice, right?
It sounds lovely. Yeah. And I love the way the French accent is. Well, I love the French language. I just don't know it.
Yeah.
But yes.
It sounds very nice. Okay. What about Kate Middleton's accent? What do you think? What do you British people think about Kate Middleton and all these new girls? Well, we have a royal family now.
Yes, we've got
because they
quite
are not,
a lot going
they're not
on.
royal. Yeah, they are not.
No,
like
they're like me.
Yeah, like you. We could be there. We could have been there. Yeah,
I know. It's it's oh gosh, the whole royal family. It's a very strange setup. I think. I love all the history of the royal family, so I love the Tudors and all those periods from years ago, and I've done a lot of reading about it, and I love that part of history. It's strange. It's almost the younger people, the younger royals are very much more in tune with normal people now, I think.
They are more modern,
They're more modern, but because they've had to be more modern, it's not a case of being royal and being quite guarded. They're much more open now, and that I think has changed an awful lot. The Queen has never changed her ways. She's still very guarded, very kind of put back. But her grandchildren and her granddaughters are very, very much more open, free-spirited. Wanting to break with tradition, wanting to have a more, I suppose, almost like a non-royal life, being able to be with people, being able to communicate with people. And people need that, people need to have their their role models or people that they respect. They need to be able to connect with them. And for a very long time, there was not that connection.
It was very divided.
It was very divided. It was very divided in the upper class.
Yes, that these new girls, not from royal families, represent this new generation.
They represent the new generation, and they represent the changing attitude of the royals as well. And I think it's great because we've got Kate Middleton. She went to the same university as Prince William, and they met and they fell in love and everything else. She's very highly educated. She comes from a fantastic family. They have a great background. And then we have Harry with Meghan.
She's an American actress.
She's an American actress. She's seems fantastic. I think she's great.
Yeah, she looks
I think
nice.
she's going to be absolutely fantastic for the country.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I love the fact because he is a very open, generous person. He really is, and I like their relationship probably more than William and Kate. Actually.
We will not tell them. Okay. Can you use another accent in some situations? For example, do you change your accent when you speak to the Queen?
I don't know.
You speak to the Queen?
I've never had that opportunity.
Or maybe here in Cyprus, do you make it simpler or have to change it in some ways?
Yeah, I think that say for example in a teaching environment and with various age groups, you have to slow everything down and simplify everything. Now, for an English native speaker, that's quite difficult. Because when you're used to speaking in a certain way, and you're speaking to people from a different country, you have to make the conscious effort to slow everything down and simplify everything. So I work with very little children, and we do story times, but even simple stories that we do with young children, we simplify that even more. And they actually love it. They appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it depends on the situation, and I think you have to take things on an individual basis. So if you know that you're speaking to your Russian friend who is a very good English speaker, you don't have to be so conscious and make the effort to slow things down.
And what about any like American accent or any Australian accent?
I can't do that.
No, you can't do it.
I'm dreadful.
Okay,
it
didn't work out. Sorry, guys. Okay, I can teach you English. Okay. Hello. Let me find some questions. Someone is asking, is this Royal English? Yes, of course it's Royal. Can't you see it? You can see it from the very appearance. Where is she from? From Devon.
Yes,
right?
I'm from Devon.
Okay, hello. Please say something in Greek. What can you say in Greek?
What can I say? What should I say to you? Καλημέρα σας, καλώς ορίσατε στο Speaking Marathon. Χάρηκα πολλά που σας έχω κοντά μας. Ελπίζω ότι περνάτε καλά.
Nice. I can understand that you invited everyone to the Speaking Marathon, which starts in April, like in a week.
Cool.
So hurry up, guys. Advice is excellent. Please tell this to my professors at the university. They want us to speak good Royals English in Russia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong angle. You know, they focus on very wrong things. They don't teach to speak. They teach to be scared of speaking. Yes, perfect, and it means scared all the time. Yes. Okay. Homework. Повторите, пожалуйста, вопрос про homework. Я не поняла. Нет слова home task. Есть слово home task. Home task means something you do around the house, right? It's not from school. Homework is for school.
Homework is from school, yes.
And home tasks?
Home tasks?
No.
I'm not sure.
Because I saw it in a dictionary.
Oh, okay.
But I think
housework?
it was, something about housework, like chores.
Housework, yes.
But
chores,
I don't think it's used.
No, we don't
Just
use
someone
that.
asked me about it and I had to check it.
No. We use housework or chores. But chores is even it's a much more American word for housework. So they use chores, and in the UK we use housework.
That's very different. Very difficult thing for me to understand. By the way, American and British words.
Yeah.
How do you use them? You don't use them at all. Sometimes they can be useful.
There are some Americanisms that slip in now to the English language more. For example, we've always had the word awesome in the English dictionary, meaning fantastic, great, but it's not something that was very common in speech. We wouldn't go around going, oh, that's great, it's awesome. And
what would you say?
We would have just said, oh, that's great, fantastic, brilliant, you know. But I think with things like much more, you know, like we have a lot more American TV programs and TV shows and reality TV where everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. And it's slipped into a lot of the vocabulary that we use so now instead of using brilliant, great, we're all going awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, and I heard this, you know, Emily Blunt.
Yes.
She's the Mary Poppins now.
Yes.
And she told some American TV show about the difference in saying you were good, and she says in Britain we say you were great. So when you say you were good, it means that someone didn't like what you did. And she said, when I came to America, people coming to me and telling me, you were good, it was so good. And she said I was so depressed because I thought that they're saying they didn't like my play or movie or something else, because she was waiting for you were great.
Because
it's
good is a very good, when you're talking about things like that, good is actually
neutral.
quite an average neutral word. It's not really, it doesn't pack a punch.
So she was disappointed when American people came to saying she was good. Okay, lovely story. Okay, very interesting about the royal family, people are saying. So, thank you for the invitation. Okay, so there are no more questions. Tell me if you have any more questions. Напишите еще какие есть вопросы. What else did I want you to ask about? Awesome. Okay, so everyone is liking everything, in a nutshell.
Okay.
It's in a nutshell. Okay, and I have a question about grammar.
Okay.
We have to talk about it anyway.
Okay.
So there are some tenses that you use more often than the others. For example, sometimes we learn for 3 or 4 months, we learn future in the past, and this past perfect something else. So tell me about tenses, which are more popular and which are the basic, well, for the students, for the English learners, which are the basic tenses you have to use to communicate on a basic level again.
Okay, so for the essential tenses really. When I was at school, grammar was very restricted to the past tense, the perfect tense, and the future tense. Now grammar has become something completely different. It's taken on a life of its own almost. There is so much more involved. And in school in the UK, I remember probably finishing grammar when I was about 10 years old. It was very basic. It was covered very, very basically because of the fact that if you can speak the language fluently, you don't have to identify so much with, am I saying this in the past tense? Am I saying this in the future? So I would say the most important ones to work on are the past tense, the perfect tense, and the future. I wouldn't worry too much about other things. The other thing that I do notice is there is always a problem for non-native English speakers with prepositions.
Yes, it's
prepositions are a nightmare.
Yeah, there is no logic.
There's no rule. There's no rule. Unfortunately, you just have to learn them.
How would you do it?
Lots of practice. And again, I would say you don't have to make preposition work difficult at all. Use the simplest types of prepositions, so to, at, on, under,
and also
keep it very simple.
Stories and songs can help, and if
absolutely.
you watch a lot of TV shows, for example, you can just pick it up. You don't have to learn and write something, because some of the prepositions, they just burn into your brain and you cannot make this mistake.
Songs are always good, very good lyrics. There is a lot of grammar songs actually which are used for schools, which are actually online. And one of them, which covers the 3 tenses I was talking about, is called the rock song.
They have
and it's like it's made to rock and roll music in a way, but it's very simple. It's very, very useful. And again, it simplifies everything.
And you can also use their songs from modern singers and bands, not made for English learners.
Yeah, you have to be very careful now, obviously, with songs, because they've all gone a bit crazy.
Very strange lyrics sometimes.
Sometimes the lyrics don't make any sense whatsoever. So you have to pick and choose your songs very carefully.
I think, as for me, I think if you like it, you will listen to it a lot and you will learn it by heart, and
it's
it
a
doesn't
really, really
matter
good way.
If it's
like
Beyonce or some grammar song made for English native speakers, because there are some nice, very nice English songs made for English learners. Okay, what do you mean when you say speak fluently? By the way, you said if you speak fluently, you don't need to focus on grammar so much.
Yes, I mean...
you mean native speakers.
Yeah, I mean, as a native speaker, we don't focus on the grammar because it's almost natural. It's the same way you speak Russian as a native. You don't consciously think anymore about the language. For example, with Greek, for example, I know nothing about the correct tenses or the we don't have masculine and feminine either in the UK. I don't understand it in Greek. I don't understand the point, so I don't use it.
So you just say masculine or feminine or
say whatever comes to my mind. And I really don't care.
And it's their problem now. Right?
Well, yeah, because I'm like, can you speak English? Okay then. So that's what I mean. Just don't worry.
Okay. So someone is asking how you watched. Well, how is it better to watch movies and TV shows with subtitles or not? You told us the story how you learned Greek from subtitles.
From subtitles. I would try and watch American or English movies without subtitles. It's not necessary to understand the entire movie. Maybe you could watch
what I'm
it.
Saying.
Yeah,
just understand the main idea. Go on watching.
Yeah,
watch one and then one more.
And even if you start off doing that type of thing for the first time, you could possibly read like a review or something, or the main plot of the movie. That gives you a little bit of an idea beforehand, so that when you actually see the movie, you can see how it comes together.
You can also watch a movie that made from a book you read, so
absolutely.
you will get the plot and the characters.
Yeah, a lot of. I love reading, so I read a lot of books, and I always read the books before I see the movies.
Yeah,
and most of the
say
time,
don't judge a book by its movie.
I know. Yeah. The movies are always. They're always really good entertainment, but they are normally disappointing after you've read the book. You can't compare. You have like your classic English movies, which are from like the classic books and everything else.
Tell us about this, the most beloved movies for British people.
Oh my goodness. Well,
or TV shows, what do you always watch? Like a tradition, because we have a tradition, there is a movie in Russia that all Russian people watch before New Year's Eve.
Okay.
It's one particular movie and everyone knows it by heart and everyone loves it, or maybe one or two movies. So what do you always watch in the UK?
In the UK, so every Christmas, without a doubt, and nobody it annoys everybody.
Yeah,
but yet they still watch it.
Yes, still watch that.
Not this again, but they're still sat there watching. It would be Home Alone.
But it's an American one.
That's an American movie. Home Alone for sure, all of them in a marathon. Marathon. Yeah, marathon movie session. Normally something to do with Miracle on 42nd Street, which is again, it's another American movie. It's Father Christmas and everything.
What about Love Actually?
Love Actually, God, I love that movie. And then, of course, Valentine's Day, you get the second movie, which is Valentine's Day.
And you watch it on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Makes sense.
Yeah, terrible. God. And then you have like... movies, oh goodness me, things like Greater Expectations, like the classics. Those are very popular, and we have a lot of very popular classic but with a modern twist kind of programs now. There's quite a few.
There are a lot of Agatha Christie's
made into
TV shows and films now.
Agatha Christie's, she's very, very popular. There are some great ones, but the classic on any time in the UK, so any time of the day, if you wanted to sit down and watch TV, you would guarantee to see a series of Friends, without a doubt.
Yeah, but it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I'm a big fan, so it's a
am I.
Good thing. Yeah.
But you can, if there's, you can't find anything else on TV to watch. You are guaranteed that you will always see an episode of Friends come up somewhere.
I wanted to go on like this. Let it be forever. Okay, I'm smiling and happy because I understand everything, every single word you are speaking. Good for you. So someone is writing that she has been learning English since 5 years old, and she had a good tutor, and she got an English teacher education, and now she is studying to become a translator, but still she has this accent, like Russian accent. As I understand, yes, can you work on it while you are still in Russia, or do you have to come to Britain to get rid of the accent?
Oh, well, I mean, I think as much exposure to the English language is the best thing. But again, it's not the most important thing. I think it's nice when people have the their individuality, their accents and so on. And again, it doesn't mean because you're going to be in the UK that you're going to learn the language any easier. I mean, look at the cities. If you were in London, for example, you're surrounded by a completely international community with hundreds of different languages
and accents
and hundreds of different accents. So it's not necessarily the most important thing to be in that country to learn to get rid of your accent. I speak Greek, but people know that I am English. I've been here for 22 years. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It's there. It's with you. So you kind of have to just embrace it and go along with it.
And don't feel embarrassed. But if you want to work on your accent, of course, you have to find a pronunciation coach and work on the very procedure of making sounds, because it's not about the level, it's about how you put your mouth in different positions.
How you move your mouth and where you put your tongue and all this type of thing.
Okay, what is your favorite book?
Oh, goodness me. Well, it depends what kind of mood I'm in. I love books by an author called Philippa Gregory. She writes a lot of books on the history of the Tudors. So all the very, very old royals and everything else. She's a historian and a journalist, and she's absolutely incredible. And her books are very, very good. She's very, very highly educated.
Can you say the name again?
Philippa Gregory.
Philippa Gregory.
Yeah, I would really recommend her books. If you were interested in history, there's quite a lot of drama. Obviously, a lot of what she writes is based on true facts, because it's obviously our history. But she's written her books in a way that it's not a history lesson. It is a novel.
Like a historical fiction.
Like a historical fiction. And they are fantastic. And she has lots of different series. They're very, very popular. They're very, very good.
Okay, we'll check
so I do like her. She's great.
And what about Russian authors? Have you ever read any Russian books?
No.
Dostoevsky, no? Tolstoy? Shame on you.
No.
How could you?
No.
How could you? You should try.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, in translation.
Yeah, thank you.
In original, it would be very difficult. Okay, how to learn the right word order in a sentence. Very difficult constructions like inversion and something. How can you learn this?
Oh dear. Well, putting sentences together. Well, I don't know really. I mean,
I think nobody knows.
I don't think anybody knows. I think the main problem with any sentence structure is your linking words and your prepositions. I think that is the main thing. You know what you want to say, you know the vocabulary that you want to use, but you don't know how to link it together.
And which one goes first,
and which one goes first, and so on and so forth. And I really believe that in order to really improve your use of English language and English grammar, it's very important to read English books. I think if you have a good author, good writers, it can affect your English in a completely different way. It's a very beautiful language, but I don't think anybody can really appreciate it if they don't read.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very important. You start at a very easy level and you just work your way up. You could even more traditional books like Jane Eyre, for example, or Little Women.
It's very difficult regarding the language.
Yeah.
Jane Austen, she has such long sentences, you can get lost.
Yeah, they do have a series which is made for much younger people. So, for example, I've bought those books for my children, and they've simplified the old English, because old-fashioned English is, I have to translate that, they've simplified it down into proper everyday English, but it's fantastic stories and they're very, very good. And I think there's another author, she's a big author in the UK, which is Enid Blyton. And now she writes books for young people from probably the age of 12 upwards. But again, her stories she's a very good writer. So the stories are very simple, but the language used is very good. And it's important to differentiate.
Something like young adult.
Young adults, yes.
Fiction.
I mean,
I always say this too. And you can always start with Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry
It's always
Potter.
a good idea.
Absolutely.
No, you don't like it?
Well, I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, her imagination is incredible.
And
so
she's
definitely
a great woman too.
Harry Potter, and also she has a new series which is
Fantastic
The
Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts, which is,
and there is Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah,
and
he's
you watch everything where Eddie Redmayne is.
We love him.
Yeah, everyone does. Okay, what is your hobby? Someone asks you. Tell us about your hobby.
My hobbies. Well, I don't actually have much time for hobbies anymore. I have 3 children and I'm very busy with them, but I do like to paint. So I've been working on a project recently for my children's school, and I have created a huge tree in 4 seasons, in the literal sense, because we don't really have 4 seasons in Cyprus. It kind of,
we
you know,
don't
we
even
may
have 2. Yeah.
So it is a tree in 4 seasons, in the literal sense, and that went up last week. It's 3 meters high,
Wow.
3 meters
Are you doing
wide.
it on your own?
Yes, I did it on my own, and it was, and I like to do things like that. I have more work to do to add to it, but I do. I've always liked painting, and I love the theatre. I love the cinema. I love books. So yes, I suppose I'm a little bit of a arty person.
Nice,
really.
good for you. Yeah, good for you. Creative. Okay, Harry Potter, it's my life. Good for you. Very good life you have. Про книги, да, напишите название рекомендуемых книг. Мы напишем обязательно, я сделаю под YouTube, под видео на YouTube, я сделаю полную транскрибацию тоже текста, чтобы все можно было прочитать, если что, перевести. И все книги тоже напишу. И все, что не расслышали. The last author you told us about Blythe, something...
Enid Blyton.
Enid Blyton.
Yes.
Blyton. Okay.
Yes. They are actually they are books for younger teenagers, but she's a very good writer, so the quality of writing is very, very good. And I think when you're learning and you want to improve your vocabulary and you want to learn more, I suppose the correct formation of sentences and everything, it's very good to start with these much simpler books, but still read quite a good story.
Games,
the Hunger Games is awesome.
There are so many young adult books now.
Yeah, I mean, I read the Hunger Games in 3 days. I read all the books in 3 days.
I listened to the audiobook. I couldn't stop. I was working. I had my private lessons, and I had to go from house to house, and I had this audiobook, and I was going around the house not to stop listening to it. It was so
they are
interesting.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you've got like the Hunger Games, you've got the Harry Potters. You've also got the Allegiance series as well. Have you ever heard of that one? They made them into movies as well, and they are very, very good books. I don't know who the author is. It starts off, I think it's 3 books in the series, and it starts off with Allegiant. Very, very good books.
I'm not sure how to spell it, by the way.
Let me write it. Let me write it. Hang on.
I'm hopeless.
Allegiant.
I see.
So
it starts not the way I thought. Okay, we'll write it.
It's Allegiant, Divergent.
I know about the Divergent.
Yeah, Divergent.
I like the actress.
Yeah. It's excellent. And there's a lot of those kind of young people's books, which I think are great.
I think you can Google and find them. It's Enid Blyton.
Enid Blyton.
Enid Blyton. We will write all these names and titles. How to learn words and make sentences of them. How to learn words. So, for example... Difficult question for a teacher, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, how to learn words. I think, for example, if you were... Say, for example, you were trying to prepare something. So, for example, at the moment I'm working with a Greek student who is applying for jobs. She has very good English, but she is very, very shy and she has no confidence whatsoever. And when she is trying to put a sentence together, her nerves get in the way of that, and that's when she struggles. So I think a lot of it is about, if you know that you're going into a particular situation, because obviously if you don't know that you're going to end up speaking English, it's very difficult to prepare. If you are going into a certain situation where you need to be able to communicate in a certain amount of English, then preparation is vital. So it is very important, if you were going for an interview, that you practice questions and answers in English.
And the vocabulary.
Yeah, I mean, only you would be able to answer those types of questions based on your own personal background.
Yeah, background.
So preparation. find the words that you need, and then link them together, try and create sentences from them. But the first thing that is most important is finding the main vocabulary words that you need to create that sentence, and then from that you can create your sentences. So preparation is everything. The more the better. Yeah, the more the better, and it's all about preparation. Again, if you're going into a situation where you don't know that you're going to be speaking English,
then you have to explain your words like in a taboo game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I need something white to dry my body, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Annie Blyton is a great author. I read all her books by in Russian when I was a teen. Yes, this is my assistant, by the way. Hi there. Okay. No more questions. That's all. Did I ask everything I wanted? Yes, I think so. Yeah, we'll have something to talk about for the videos later. Okay. Yes, I think that's all. Ну что, все спросили, пообщались, мне кажется, мы хорошо. Давайте мы сейчас пойдем дальше записывать для YouTube-канала видео, и потом я вам расскажу, где это все смотреть и на какие темы. У нас очень интересные темы там задуманы. Так что ждите. Очень интересный эфир. Да, я рада. Я надеюсь, получится у нас еще это повторить. Я надеюсь, что все поняли, что всем носителям совершенно наплевать на наши акценты, поэтому не давайте этому стереотипу останавливать себя от разговоров. И напоминаю еще раз, что 2 апреля мы с Кэтрин, в общем-то, тоже вместе начинаем наши все марафоны, спикинг-марафон, Use Your Girl Power и так далее, и так далее. Так что везде, где есть WhatsApp-чаты, это вот как раз Кэтрин с нами и разговаривает. Спасибо большое, спасибо за ваши слова, рада, что все понравилось. Запись будет на YouTube, и в течение нескольких дней я очень постараюсь транскрибировать, да, то есть записать все, что мы говорили. Если есть кто-то сейчас, кто это умеет делать, напишите мне, пожалуйста, в директ, потому что, может быть, есть какая-то программа, да, которую можно использовать, чтобы сделать из аудио текст, да, и прочитать его. Спасибо большое, да, everyone is saying thank you, and see you on Speaking Marathon. And come again. Thank you very much for everything you are doing. Thank you, thank you. Yes, I think that's all. So let's say bye-bye, goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
See you next time. We'll do it again, I think. Bye.